Hi, I'm Ken Hunley, and this is day one of the long game program. By now, you know what you already need to have in order to start working on this program. Now, if you're just watching this video, it doesn't make any difference what you're watching it on. But if you're ready to do some work, you got to have some specific tools. First of all, you've got to have a driver. You can't use a 3-wood. You can't use any other club. This is the only club that I'm going to use in this program, so this is essential. Number two, you've got to have a mirror. The mirror needs to be about 4 feet tall and at least about 1 foot wide. Number three, you're going to need some space. You need enough space to be able to swing that driver. Now, if you're just watching this and you're not doing any work, that's fine. You can watch it on your cell phone. But if you're doing work, you cannot watch this on a cell phone. There's too much detail in this video for you to see this on a cell phone and get it done. Now, whatever you're watching it on, whether it's a computer, TV monitor, iPad, you got to have that right beside your mirror, because you're going to be watching what to do, and then you're going to be watching yourself as you're doing the drills that I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you some very specific things to do, and if you can't see yourself, you're not going to know if you're doing this correctly or not. So, if you're watching this on the computer, once you click on that arrow that turns the video on, you got to move the cursor off that screen, because if you leave the cursor there, the screen will be this big. When you move that cursor off the screen, the frame gets bigger. So, if you got your driver, your mirror, and your space, it's time to get to work. Now, in the beginning of the program, you are not going to need high ceilings to work this program. You may need them later on, but not in the beginning. Now, in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a number. That number tells you what video you're watching. So you're always going to know where you are in this program. You're going to have a hard copy that gives you a menu, and that menu's got day 1 through day 40, whatever. And you'll be able to tell exactly where you are when you're watching each video. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the issues that golfers have with hitting the driver. You cannot fix this with a 3-wood. So if you don't have a driver, go and get one. If you have to borrow one, do that. You're going to need a driver. You can't get around this. Now, by the end of this video, I'm going to be able to explain to you why most golfers have problems with hitting the driver and all the problems that they have hitting the driver. It's mostly a mental thing. I'm also going to give you the fix. So I'm not just going to identify what the problem is, I'm going to show you how to fix this issue. If you are going to develop a long game, you're going to have to learn to hit your driver well. Now, some of you have such an issue with your driver that you've already sold it, or you've taken it out of your bag and you haven't used it in a very long time. The driver, more than any club in the bag, causes guys to have complexes about their golf game. So not being able to hit your driver can really mess your head up. So we're going to deal with this. And during the program, usually at the end of a video, I'm going to ask you to do some reading out of the user manual. This is a user manual. So when you buy the program, you get a hard copy of this. You also get this on the CD. For this particular issue, I'm going to ask you to do some reading now. So down here on the left, there's a link that says not hitting the driver well. If you have not read this, I need you to read this now. This is a mental issue that manifests into a physical issue very rapidly. And if you haven't read this, you need to do that. So put the video on pause, do that reading, come back to the video. So here's where the problem starts with your driver. You're on the driving range, or you're either playing and you realize, I am not hitting my driver as well as my 3-wood. I'm going to fix this by swinging harder. There's where the problem starts right there. It's not the physical stuff, it's the thought that you have to swing the club harder. Anytime you're swinging any club harder, whether it's a driver or a 7-iron, it is more difficult to hit the sweet spot on the club. When you hit the sweet spot on this driver, there's no vibration in this handle, and the ball goes farther than it goes when you miss the sweet spot. So for every 1/8 of an inch that you miss this sweet spot, you're going to lose about 8 to 10 yards off your drive. If you miss that sweet spot by 1/2 an inch, you've lost 30 to 40 yards off of your drive. And all of this started because you thought, I need to swing this harder. Now, before you actually make the swing, you may decide to take a practice swing. And in your practice swing, you might actually make a really good practice swing. But then you get up over the ball, and you might stand there for 7 or 8 seconds. And all the time you're doing this, your muscles, they're getting tighter. There's some angst going on here. So I'm going to hold the club up in the air to show you how this affects you. You may start off your swing with the club face square to your target line. But then as you take the club back, your grip gets tighter. And watch what happens to the club face when I grip the club tighter. It opens up a little bit. So now you take the club back faster than normal, and you got a tighter grip. And when you take it back faster and you got a tighter grip, it doesn't go back as far. You don't get this angle that you normally would have gotten with your practice swing. So you're here, and by the time you come back to impact, the club face is here. Now all of these are the effects of the decision to swing the club harder. So the first effect is your grip gets tighter, and when your grip gets tighter, that is an effect that's causing other effects. And when you hit the ball like this, you're going to have a slice on that shot. So you've started off with a practice swing that looks like this. By the time you actually hit the ball, something like that. Does that look familiar? So this is the first effect from that thought, which is a cause, to swing the club harder. So when you muscle up to swing the club, your brain thinks that you're about to kill something. So it also causes you to use a completely different set of muscles in a different swing sequence. When you only go back to here, you don't have the same movement sequence going forward as you did when you were performing that wonderful practice swing. So in that wonderful practice swing, so I'm just going to break this down for you now. There are 5 main levers in a good golf swing, and here they are. In that wonderful practice swing, from here, you got a weight shift with your hips. That's lever number 1. Lever number 2 is your shoulders, right shoulder down, left shoulder up. Lever number 3 is the rotation of your hips. Lever number 4 is straightening out your back leg, straightening out your back arm. And lever number 5 is getting your hands straight, getting your arms straight here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like shifting gears in a car. When you do that, there's effortless power. When you do this, you're doing lever 5, 4, and 3 simultaneously. And you're not even getting to levers 1 and 2. So again, this is an effect of you deciding to swing harder. So when I fire the 3rd lever, which is the rotation of my hips, from here, it causes me to come over the top. And my hands come out here. Now when I swing at the ball, I'm coming outside in. That causes a slice. With that proper practice swing, you do the opposite. You actually go inside out, and the club is moving away from you when you hit the golf ball. That is the opposite of casting. That is the opposite of coming over the top. Now casting is the 5th lever, and that's doing this. So all of these things are power leaks. When you do this, when you don't get back to here, that's a power leak. But when you start here and you immediately go there, that's casting, that's another power leak. All of these power leaks add up and cost you a lot of yardage on all your clubs. So one bad cause has multiple bad effects. Eliminate the bad cause, eliminate the bad effects. So this is one of those mental decisions that causes all kinds of bad physical things to happen. Now we're going to work on one of the several different ways to fix your driver issue. Now for this particular exercise, you've got to do this at the driving range. You cannot do this at home. And you have to have a driver. So if you've given your driver away, go and get one. You cannot fix this problem with your driver without a driver. Take all your clubs with you. Now when you get to the driving range, make sure you got your cell phone, because you may need to pull this video up again to see all the stuff I'm going to ask you to do. Now on the days that you are not hitting your driver well, you will sometimes hit a 3-wood, you might hit a rescue club. You got to make sure you've got this club with you. I'll call this the go-to club. So get to the range, get warmed up. Make sure you've hit at least 15 balls with your go-to club, and make sure that you are hitting them well. Now that you've warmed up with your go-to club, I want you to pay attention to a few things. I want you to feel the pace of the takeaway. Get a concept of what that feels like. How fast are you taking this club away? How fast do you swing the club? And how tight are you gripping the club? Take those feelings you've got with the go-to club. Now get your driver out. Choke up on the driver about an inch. Now duplicate that feeling with your go-to club with your driver. Take some practice swings. Do not try to kill the ball. You do not want to start off with that kill command. So you're trying to transfer everything that you're doing with your go-to club to your driver. Now that you have made some practice swings with your driver, I want you to start hitting some balls. But I do not want you to try and kill it. For some of you, every time you get the drive in your hand, you feel like you have to swing it hard. This is a mental habit, and this is where you start to change it. It's got to change here before it can change down here. So I only want you to swing the club hard enough so that you hit the ball about 150 to 175 yards in the air. That's it. Don't try to kill it. Now, because you're slowing your swing speed down, you might hit some balls. Don't let this discourage you. Keep hitting them at this slower pace until you start hitting the ball well. Now, for some of you, when you try to only hit the ball 150 to 175 yards, you're going to hit it about 225 effortlessly. You're going to figure out that hitting this sweet spot makes the ball go farther. If you're learning how to ski or you're learning how to skate, you don't learn how to do that rapidly. You learn to do that slowly first. So when you get comfortable with this slower swing and you're hitting the sweet spot and you're hitting it well, you need to gradually increase your speed until you are no longer hitting the sweet spot and you're no longer hitting the ball straight. Now you know how fast you can swing your driver and get away with it and hit the ball well. Next thing you're going to do is go back to your regular grip. Don't choke up on the driver. But you got to start this process all over again. So you got to feel that slow takeaway. You got to feel that easy swing. You got to go through this process again of trying to hit the ball 150 to 175 yards only and finding the sweet spot on the club. After you've done that a few times, don't get hooked on that. You want to gradually increase that speed until you are no longer hitting the sweet spot. Usually, the speed that you're going to function at the best is the same speed that you're swinging your go-to club. But you have to go through this process just to discover this. So now I'm going to give you another fix, but this one can be done at home or just about anywhere. This next drill is called a flop drill, and you're literally going to be letting the club flop. You need your driver, you need to do this in front of a mirror. You need to see what you're doing. All right, get your driver, get in your driver's stance. You're going to start moving the club back and forth, and you'll notice that my hands are not moving anywhere. They're staying in front of my body. So this is how we're going to start this out. Do this about 5 or 6 times. Then let your hands come back beside your body here, and when you let your hands come back here, this needs to be a 90-degree angle. So when you have a really tight grip, your swing kind of looks like this. So we're going to loosen the grip up so you can get this to a 90-degree angle from here to here. 90-degree angle over here also. Do this 5 or 6 times. After you've done this 5 or 6 times and you can see that you got that 90-degree angle, then take the club back where your front arm is parallel to the ground. Now you still got a 90-degree angle up here. Go over this side, get a 90-degree angle here. Now you got a little bit of body motion going on here. You got a little weight shift, got a little hip rotation. You still got that 90-degree angle here. Do this 5 or 6 times and then pull this club back with your back arm. Don't cock it with your wrist. This is part of the problem of losing that range of motion. A lot of you start out here because you've got such a tight grip, and part of that is because you're using your wrist to cock the club. Don't do that. Pull this club back with your back hand. So your arm's going to be parallel. Pull the club back with your back hand, get a 45-degree angle here. Go over this side, finish with a 45-degree angle here. You should be doing this drill 2 or 3 minutes a day. This is going to help you loosen up your grip. It's also going to eliminate a lot of power leaks in your swing. Okay, so that's it for today's video. Your reading for tonight is going to be in the user manual. It's going to be Chapter 1. What is golf for adults? What is the long game program? What is the default swing? So after you've done this, I'll see you back here for day 2 video.